Good afternoon, all. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn session. For those of you who are just joining me for the first time, this is my Get Ready for Greatness, Understanding the Basics of Business Lunch and Learn workshop. And my name is Richard Cuff. I'm president of CTI Marketing, founder of Nasimba Business Alliance, a master greatness coach here at GetReadyForGreatness.com. Um, every day I've committed myself to doing the Lunch and Learn sessions. This is my service to the world. And if you follow me in for my morning commutes, you sort of get a better understanding of how I got to this particular uh, presentation. Originally, post I should say, pre-coronavirus pandemic, um, the world was, I was in my comfort zone, as I mentioned, and my comfort zone is doing small groups and radio broadcasting because I'm a 35-year broadcasting veteran. All of my life I've spent, pretty much all of my professional career, I should say, I've spent behind a microphone of some sort. And even when I do stand-up comedy, yes, I'm standing in front of an audience, and I could possibly be in front of a television camera and talking to millions and even hundreds of millions of people. And right now, with the internet, I this literally could be reaching billions of people. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm talking to just one person because that's how I was trained in broadcasting um, back in the early 80s. And even as a child listening to the radio, I always felt that DJ, that on-air personality was always talking to just me. And it wasn't until I got into broadcasting school that I learned a technique, two techniques that have stayed with me for my entire broadcasting career. So, guys, in fact, I'll share this with you right now. If if you are thinking about going into broadcasting, you want to do podcasting, or you want to use your voice and tell your story, there are a ton of people that are out there training people to tell your story, and they are charging thousands and tens of thousands of dollars for this information to show you how to tell your story. I don't put a price on it. I can't even think to take what I've learned over the 35 years and package it in such a way that someone would pay me for it, primarily because that doesn't solve the problem. Me putting a price on my 35 years of broadcasting experience, my 40 years of coaching experience that go all the way back to what I learned in the United States Army and brought into the corporate world. I could not put a price on it. Why? Because that alone does not solve your problem. And it's not until I can identify your problem, bring the solution, create value, and deliver that value, then I can put a price. And then once I put a price, if you don't, after all of that, if you don't see the value, then there's no agreement on there's no agreement there, and therefore there's going to be no transaction. And I'll share that with you a little bit later here in the workshop. But because I'm talking about the broadcasting, I want to share with you two things about broadcasting. And these two things will make you a YouTube star, a podcast star. If you're thinking about podcasting and you don't have a place to begin and you want to know where you can begin to get your podcast off the ground, these two things. Number one, you want to sound non-regional. And what that means is in broadcasting, it's important to not sound as if you come from any one particular place. So if you and in some cases it works. Now, don't get me wrong, but if you're talking about building a broadcasting career, you want to sound non-regional. And what that means is in broadcasting, it's important to not sound as if you come from any one particular place. So if you and in some cases it works. Now, don't get me wrong, but if you're talking about building a broadcasting career, you want to sound non-regional. And what that means is in broadcasting, it's important to not sound as if you come from any one particular place. So if you're talking about building a broadcasting career, where you don't know where you're going to land. You don't know exactly what audience you're going to reach. When you start that broadcasting career and you venture out brand new, and I'm going to see what I do, what I can do, and you don't have an audience, you don't have anybody that's willing to pay you, you got nothing but what you feel like you can deliver to the world. The worst thing you can do is specifically identify an audience that you're going to go after. So, and if you do that, the problem is when you get to a broader audience, you're not going to be able to suddenly switch up. Now you're stuck because you become um, that repairman or that craftsman, and you got just one tool. And someone said it perfectly. When the only tool in your tool belt is a hammer, then every problem looks like a nail because you keep hammering the same way. What that, as they say, dance with the one who brung you. That's the only dance you know. That's the only song you know. That's the only tool you have. So you keep going back and hammering. And so if you want to avoid boxing yourself into a corner where your voice is that hammer and you've got only one tune, and then you're a child actor and everybody knows you now as the star of that show, and you can't get apart no matter what because everybody's looking at you in this particular way. The problem is you started out broadcasting with this narrow focus. So what you want to do is sound non-regional. And what that means is your voice doesn't necessarily sound like it's from the South or from the North or from the East or from the West. When people listen to your voice, they shouldn't hear these accents. They shouldn't hear that it sounds like you're from Jersey, man, or you sound like you're from Boston, or you from the hood, or whatever it is. Your voice should not sound like that. And that's not to say you're denying who you are, or you're denying who you came from, or you're denying your culture. Um, Good friend of mine, Joseph Phillips, the guy who played um, the husband of Denise Huxtable on the Cosby Show. I had a chance to meet Joseph 2007. I was a consultant to the Jacksonville Symphony, and brought Joseph uh, to speak as a part of our NASIMBA Business Alliance, which I'll be talking about a little bit today. We brought Joseph in to speak. At the time, I was a consultant to the Jacksonville Symphony, and I had the wonderful opportunity to produce one of their most successful concerts, and it was a group called Spectrum out of Las Vegas. They were a Vegas act, and they did Motown songs. And someone had the wonderful idea to have them perform those Motown songs with a live orchestra. So they wrote the score for the live orchestra to play it, and the Jacksonville Symphony brought them in, and I had the opportunity to produce that show, if you will. I as a consultant, I did all the marketing and brought a very diverse audience in. And then I saw it as an opportunity to also engage the entrepreneurial community. And through our business alliance, we brought Joseph Phillips in to be a keynote speaker and do a book signing. But Joseph wrote a book called He Talked Like a White Boy. That is so powerful. It's a powerful book. If you haven't had a chance to read it, get Joseph Phillips' book. I think he wrote it May 2006, 2005, somewhere in there. He wrote it before he got here, or maybe we just timed it that he had the book out. But he did the book signing at Barnes and Noble. We did it at the St. John's Town Center. But he talked like a white boy, and what Joseph talks about in that book is how he wasn't necessarily the black kid that sounded black. And of course, we have a tendency to um, either try to dig into where we come from, or we are rejecting where we're going to. And so those are the cultural things that we got no choice now in the post coronavirus world. It doesn't matter, baby. Coronavirus has kind of proven to us that black and white, Hispanic, Asian, wealthy, poor, um, north, south, east, west, all of those things that our politicians have been using to divide us up. Coronavirus has just wiped all that out. Now, if you want to go back to that, you can do that. So you got one of three choices. You can go back to the greatness, or you can claim greatness right now with what you see going on. And if you thought that greatness, you were going to make greatness again, you can kind of see that there is no make it great again. If you want to worship and praise it for being great right now, it don't look too great right now. But you got a choice. You can look to greatness in the future, greatness to come. As for me and my house, I'm going to go for the greatness that is to come. I don't care about what it used to be. And I am not interested in right now. I am looking to the greatness that is to come. So what that is, it's saying that you cannot let these cultural influences, the talking like your mom or your boys. 50 Cent talked about it, and in fact, man, if I could do an interview with 50 Cent, 50, um, he has this new TV show called For Life. It's the story of this brother who became an attorney while in prison, and it's based on a true story. And 50 is what's his real name? Listen, dude, uh, y'all don't be having 50 come beat me up because I can't remember his name right now. But he has this, 50 had this he still got this image, man. He's straight up gangster, right? In his rap, in his demeanor, and in himself. But I remember years ago, I think he did it. I think it was him. He did this interview, and he was talking about when he had become this famous rapper, but he was still hanging out in the hood. Went back to the hood and got shot up shot 9 times. Well, guys, listen, when God blesses you to come up out of it, you better get up out of it. If not if, when God blesses you to come up out of the place where you are right now, you better get up out of the place where you are right now. So again, and I'm just sort of getting into this thing, but this is where my heart is and where my mind is going right now. That one thing about becoming this great broadcaster, getting your voice out there, and maybe it's just don't think of it from a standpoint of you're starting a podcast or you're starting a broadcast or you're starting a YouTube channel. That's not what this is about. You have a story to tell, and that's what I want you to think about. How do you tell your story, whether it's podcasting? And for me, like I said, this microphone is just my comfort zone because I have a voice now, and my voice doesn't sound like I come from anywhere. You can't tell where I'm from. If I were to say to you, tell me right now, where do you think I was born? Where do you think I grew up? Where do you think? Do you think I had parents that would it shock you if I told you I was born in France and I had white parents, from France? Or would it shock you that I grew up in Korea? But when I got into broadcasting, I learned how to get that Korean sound out of my voice. Would that shock you? Would it shock you that I was from the South and I grew up in the hood? Would it shock you? Well, it should. If I'm doing this right, and forgive me, y'all, I have gotten lazy with my voice, but because when I was when I was in radio, I was really conscious of my voice. I would exercise my voice. I would treat my voice like it was my paycheck because it was. Then I got lazy. I stopped sounding like a DJ and sounding like a broadcaster. And I started working with kids and just having fun. But I'm getting back. I'm getting my voice back. But part of that is because I'm getting out of my comfort zone. So what I'm saying to you is this: is the first key, the first step, the first principle, the first thing to remember is leave your past behind. Get rid of all those things that tell the story of who you are just by the way you sound. So, yeah, you sound like a Southern white boy. Maybe that'll play to all Southern white boys. Sound like a brother from the hood. Maybe that will play to other brothers from the hood. But if you sound so much like you are just from one particular part of this nation, one particular culture, that's all you have, then you are not ready to go onto YouTube and Facebook and build up an audience. You can, yes, you can talk to your audience, and there may be thousands and millions of people who sound like you, who look like you, who listen to you, and that's all you want to talk to. But I'm telling you this, after you have got that last person who sounds like you, who looks like you, who thinks like you got the last one, rah rah, and they're rally, and they're behind you, then you're going to find out that your world starts to fall apart when you have to try to convince one more person who doesn't look like you to become part of your team. Why? Because maybe half of your team died off, or you're losing your market share. And when you start to lose market share of right wing racist or left wing social communist, whatever your ist is or your ism is, when you start losing on that ism and it starts to flatten and your popularity starts to take a dive, you're going to find that you are not going to quite be able to, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a minute, but you're going to find that it's going to be difficult for you to get that market back. So why not start off from the very beginning without the thought that I am going to play to my people, my market, my team? Start off sounding non-regional. Non-regional doesn't mean selling out, doesn't mean talking like a white boy, doesn't mean trying to hood up either. What it means is you are going to strip from your voice all of those things that are telltale signals of where you come from, because you have to leave behind that to go to the place where your voice is going to take you. And so, like I said, there's only three choices. There's to stay behind and think and serve and all of that the way you were trained and grew up thinking, and all of those beliefs and everything, or deal with the current situation and pick up the newness and follow the crowd and get behind the one, whoever is in the leader right now, who's ever in the White House right now, jump on board with them. You can do that. And that's just as jacked up as anything. Or you can say that there's greatness in the future, and I'm not the one who's going to determine what that greatness is. All I know is the one who created it has already created it for me. That's the one that I'm going to serve. So if you've been following me on my unscripted, the unscripted part of my life, the morning commutes, uh, do check them out. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, go to Get Ready for Greatness, the Facebook page, and I've been posting them over there. Starting tomorrow, though, I am going to do the morning commute from my Get Ready for Greatness page, and then I'll share it over later on my personal feed. So if you're not following me on the Get Ready for Greatness, or if you haven't liked the Get Ready for Greatness page, you're going to miss out. So I'm telling you now, go over to, I'm asking you, I don't want to be telling you nothing, but I'm going to ask that you go over to Get Ready for Greatness and like the Get Ready for Greatness page, follow me and sign up. I've got to go in and see what it is that you have to do for the alerts. I'll be able to tell you tomorrow exactly what you have to do to make certain that you get the alerts. But like the page, and then when I go live, you'll get an alert that will tell you that I'm live on Get Ready for Greatness, and then you'll see my morning commutes. I'm going to make the commitment, guys, that I'll do my best to be out of the house in the morning by 8:15. Part of the challenge that I'm not doing the morning commutes on a scheduled basis is that my work day now is really long and hectic because I work as an accountant. I also work as a marketing professional, and we're building a customer service department. So the vision for my newest company that we're going to be launching on October 5th with a crowdfund offering that's going to go through January 5th. So we get 90 days according to the Jobs Act that allows us to do crowdfunding. So we're going to announce what's going to be the biggest crowdfund offering. If they raise it, we're going to keep it at $500,000 because of their thresholds and certain requirements that you meet. But by making certain that we only launch businesses that are seeking $500,000, we can use crowdfunding and use it in the simplest form, because it's only designed to get the entrepreneur through that final incubation stage, or what we call the acceleration stage. So, but we're going to be talking about that. So you guys are gonna hear all of that, and I'm going to explain a little bit of it today in today's Lunch and Learn. I'm doing an extended version today because I missed yesterday. Why? Because I treated yesterday like it was Saturday, and I came into the office thinking I got all day to just really catch up on work, and I left here heading home, and I thought, oh my God, I did do the I stayed true to my morning commute because I was conscious with the morning commute. I did the morning commute, did it a little late, but then, and I think because the morning commute started late, I didn't think about lunch, and I worked through lunch and I worked through most of dinner, and then I went home and thought, oh my goodness, I forgot to do the Lunch and Learn for Saturday. So that's why today is day 6 and 7. And so I'm piling it all in today. So this is a pretty laid back conversation. Also, I'm not really sure who's listening, who's watching, because I'm doing this from Zoom. And if you're watching it on Facebook Live, you probably see the Zoom logo. But I've always used Zoom long before it seems the rest of the world discovered it. And then suddenly now we start having issues with Zoom and all this other stuff. But that's because everybody is piled in here. And then once we get back to work, it's going to sort of go to the new normal. And the new normal is 7.5 million, maybe as many as 14 million people will be unemployed that were employed 2 months ago. Yeah, that's crazy, guys. So along with the coronavirus death toll and the nosedive of the stock market, the unemployment rate is going crazy, and all those other things. And it seems like the world has come to an end. And guess what? It has. The old world, the old way of thinking, the old way of doing things, where we target our specific market, people who talk like us. So the other thing, let me go into the second thing. I told you there were two things that you needed to know about broadcasting. And really, that wasn't what this Lunch and Learn is about. It's just that I've been a broadcaster for 35 years and I've had this voice. I went to the Army and came home. I went in at 17 years old, probably sounding like a 12-year-old. And then I came home and my voice went through that transition. And then suddenly I had this DJ voice. And for those of you, if the voice sounds familiar, especially if you're from Jacksonville and you say, man, that guy's voice sounds familiar. I can't remember. I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm going to tell you the big secret, and it's out now. Back in the mid 90s here in Jacksonville, the radio stations used to be owned separately. I think one was owned by J-Core, 92.7 The Beat. Guys, forgive me if I messed this. I think 92.7 The Beat was owned by J-Core, and Hot 101.5 was owned by Eagle Broadcasting. And Eagle Broadcasting, and back in the day, that was when a company could only own one or two radio stations in a market. So the federal government was like, look, we're not going to have this thing where you can control everything. And I believe it was the Bill Clinton administration that changed it and said, there are no restrictions now. You can own as many radio stations as you want to because we're a free market. Well, the moment the markets became free, the radio stations, there used to be community, and you remember in the morning, every community had their own morning DJ. Everybody's community had their own morning show, and radio was really about personal community. The DJ, the morning show crew talked to you in the morning. And then about the 90s or so, they started syndicating the morning shows, and Rush Limbaugh and Tom Joyner Morning Show and Steve Harvey came along later, but the Steve Harvey Morning Show, Oprah, all those shows, television shows and radio shows started being syndicated through networks of stations, and then eventually the radio stations bought the syndication. So they bought all of these independent radio stations that had come together, and now one company owns them. But back in the day, in the 90s, Eagle Broadcasting owned Hot 101.5 and J-Core owned 92.7 The Beat. And we were going head to head, man. 92.7 The Beat would do something, Hot 101.5 would do something. And we were competing for the community. And it was awesome to be in radio at that time, because those were the last days of community radio when you knew the air personality, you heard their voice, and you looked forward to seeing them out in the community. Now that doesn't happen anymore. But I grew up in a time when in Miami, Butterball and Jimmy G and Jerry J and 99 WEDR 99. What is it? What's EDR 99.9 or 99.5? I haven't been in Miami in 30 years, guys. Forgive me, Jerry J. And I think Jimmy G is passed, but I go back when I was a kid, Butterball. Well, anyway, here's the big secret. And there was a falling out at Hot 101.5, and everybody left when Bruce Demps went over to 99. What is it? The Beat. So when everybody went over to the Beat, we all followed Demps, and I did the evening shift, the 10 to 2, the Quiet Storm. And Nate the Great had, of course, Nate the Great, you got a cool name. Nate the Great was doing the morning show, so Nate the Great. And but I was Richard Cuff. I'm Richard Cuff. I did the weekend, right? I was a weekend guy. But when I moved over to 99, 99.9, the Beat, or 90, what is it? 90, what is it? 99.3. Guys, I forget what I'm not into radio as much as I used to be. You can tell. Podcasting and this is now what it is. But with the Beat, I went over to the Beat, and Nate and I were sitting in the control room, and Nate had just told me that they had decided to give me the evening shift from 10 to 2, which was the Quiet Storm. And I was in radio, man. You go from doing the weekend to getting a full shift like that. That's a big thing, even though it's only 4 hours a night, 20 hours a week. There's not a lot of money in it. But in radio, you make your money by building up your personality, and then different companies will pay you to sponsor their products. And so that's how most people make their money in radio. The radio pays you very little. It's the sponsors that are paying you. So that's going to make sense. I'll probably do a training specifically on how to get into podcasting, what you need to think, and where you're going to create your revenue. But I'm having this conversation with Nate the Great, and Bruce Demps walks into the control room, and he had to get something, had to have a meeting with Nate. He pushes in, he says, "Nate, I need to talk to you." And he's like, "What you guys talking about?" And then Bruce told him, "I just told Richard that he's got the night, the Quiet Storm." And I said, "Yeah, I was thinking, I just told Nate I need to change my name. And I was thinking, because my name is Richard Cuff, don't sound right? It didn't sound cool, not for something like the Quiet Storm, baby." So I said, I told Bruce, I said, I told Nate I'm thinking about being Rico the Scorpio, because Rico, Richard, Spanish is Rico, and then I'm a Scorpio, so Rico the Scorpio. Bruce says, "That's good, go with that." And he closed the door. And that's how I became Rico the Scorpio. So if you recognize this voice, it's because this is the voice of Rico the Scorpio. 92 point, that's what it is, 92.7. I said I had to say that. 92.7 The Beat. I'm Rico the Scorpio. This is the Quiet Storm. So this is my Quiet Storm voice. But if you listen to my Quiet Storm voice, it's not that much different from my Richard Cuff voice, except my wife will not let me be Rico the Scorpio. When we got engaged, in essence, she said Rico got to go. But she'll call, and now she calls me, and if I answer the phone with my Rico the Scorpio voice, "Hello," she like, "Put Richard on the phone." She don't care about my Rico the Scorpio voice. But that's okay. Enough of voices. Let me just say the second thing. The second thing to be successful in radio, along with not sounding like you're from anywhere, trying to sound like a DJ and all that other stuff, just be natural and get rid of the things, the telltale signs that says you come from any one particular place. So you want to sound non-regional. The second thing to ensure that you're going to be successful in broadcasting is always talk to just one person. And see, I've been doing this for 35 years, so I don't feel like, oh my God, there's thousands of people watching and I've got to be perfect every time. When I learned those two things, to get rid of the sounds, the mistakes. One of the things that I'm also conscious of, and it's the ums and you knows. And so you'll notice when I become conscious now of the fact that I'm about to say or do a tick or something like any of those things that can make the quality of your voice or diminish the quality of your voice, I'll stop them. So when I become conscious of it, I don't say when I'm about to say it means slow down and take the time to gather your thoughts before you form the words. And that's all that means is when you find yourself saying those things like, you know what I'm saying, like, see, those, and every now and then I'm doing it. But that's because I've been out of the radio game for so long that my voice muscles, my mental muscles, and all those kinds of things that Lester Holt and all the rest. You listen to Lester, man. Lester Holt is smooth. Anybody watch anybody on television news that have worked their way up to the national news. You'll find, number one, they do not sound like they are from any particular place in the country. And the second thing is when they're talking to just one person, you. And it'll say things like, hey, you keep it right there where you got it. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, I've got this for you. Like people around the nation are excited, and this is what you need to know. What is happening in the White House, and the White House does something, this is something that's the biggest turnoff when these politicians say the American people. It sounds good politically, but when they say, because the American people don't want, that's a deflection. They are deflecting because they don't know who the heck they're talking to. But it sounds good to say American people, because who can argue that, right? That sounds really good. So if these politicians are being coached, guys, by broadcast professionals that are getting with them so that they don't look like and sound like idiots in front of the camera. So they're spending tens of thousands of dollars on voice coaching and how to get in front of the camera and what to say. And the number one thing that will cause you to not lose your base is say the American people. The American people. The American people. Who can argue with that? The American people. Now, who are the American people, though? Doesn't matter. The American people. Well, if that helps you in broadcasting to keep your focus, then say American people. But that only works for politicians, so that the politicians don't want you to know that while they're saying the American people, they're really talking about the lobbyists or the people that they just had that meeting with that says, when are we going to get the growth? When are we going to get the economy open again? When we really must. And so remember, I donated $200,000 to your campaign. If you don't get this campaign, I will not donate to you again. So they're going to get up and say, well, the American people are really concerned. They don't care about the American people, y'all. That's not what their focus is. Whenever they say American people, just think of it this way. They're saying my donors, my base, those who are going to vote to keep me in office. If they said that, would you really listen? No, but they say American people because it's a little brain trick that has to happen in your brain. But what do you need to do? Let's stop them from playing tricks, and you start using these tricks. So if you're thinking about launching your podcasting career, maybe that was what the Lunch and Learn session was supposed to be about today. I could probably forget these slides, right? But let me go through this. Let's consider that. Today's Lunch and Learn was how to launch your podcast, how to launch your broadcast, your YouTube channel, or if you've got a wealth of knowledge now that you are sitting on because you've been working at this job for 15, 18 years, and you looking down the road, you got another 12 years before you hit that 30-year early retirement, and 22 years before you hit 40 years retirement, and suddenly they pull the plug and you don't know where you're going to go, what you're going to do. You got all this knowledge. Well, it's time for you to do a YouTube channel. Time for you to do Facebook Lives. It's time for you to create your course, put that information together, and you'll be able to sell it for as little as $49. I'll give you an example. This right here is my One Vision reward card. Now, I'm going to show you how I'm presenting this. And so if you're still watching, it's because you're interested. And so I've given you the information that you would have gotten for free. So for those of you who are happy with free and all you want is free, click end and go on and so go to the internet and find some other free stuff. But this right now is we now are going to shift, and I'll show you how this works. I am now shifting from my free module and I'm shifting to my first module. And well, I'll say this. In my business model is to use modular pricing. So everything that I can give away for free, everything that I'm willing to give away for free, anything that I can get for free to give to my clients, I'll go and get it and I'll offer it because free solves the problem. I said it earlier. When you're doing business with someone, people are not doing business with you because they want your product. They're not doing business with you because they love your price, your service, all of those things, that the fancy marketing and all of that, you'll find that out. They're not doing business with you for any of those reasons. The only reason that they came to you is because they have a problem. And if it were not for that problem, they would not be seeking you. There's a joke, this joke, the guy goes to the doctor and says, doctor, every time I do like this, it hurts. The doctor says, well, don't do like that. Don't do it. Problem solved, right? Yeah, and what will happen is this, and this is what happens when we solve people's problems. Nobody wants to pay for the problem to be solved. We have a problem with coronavirus. The government is shut down. Are we talking about paying $1,200 to get the government started again? That's the problem. The economy is shut down. You would think that everybody who's experiencing the problem would say, how much do I have to pay to fix the problem? No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, when does that $1,200 check hit my account? You see, that's how people think when they're in the problem mode. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. I'll try to remember. I talked about it this morning in my morning commutes, and that, well, I'll tell you what, check out my morning commutes. That's when you guys can get all that information. We'll go more into detail. But this is how I move from my free module to my first paid module. And you guys, you can use this same process, meaning offer what you have for free to solve the problem. It's because once you solve the problem and deliver the solution, then you can add the value. And once you add value, then you can set a price. And once you set a price, if the customer agrees and sees the value, they'll pay the price, always. So I'm now selling the reward card because the reward card gets you into the community that right now, which you're listening, but you're outside of my Get Ready for Greatness community. You're outside of my PS Factor podcast private group. But this card gets you into the community, and it's only $49 a year. Then you can connect and network with some of the other people that are in our network. But now that just shows you how I'm setting up my business. You can do exactly the same thing because you have the right to set your price. So let me get started here. Let me go back to sharing my screen so that you guys can see exactly what I'm going to be talking about in today's Lunch and Learn session. And here is in Get Ready for Greatness. This is the Get Ready for Greatness, Understanding the Basics of Business Ownership Lunch and Learn workshop. So what there are three companies primarily that I own. North American Small and Emerging Market Business Association was the corporation back in the mid 2000s, but I reformed the corporation around 2007 and formed Concentel LLC. I dissolved NASEMBA North American Small Emerging Market Business Association, but I kept the acronym NASEMBA. And we'd always been operating, doing business as, if you will, the NASEMBA Business Alliance. But NASEMBA Business Alliance, CTI Marketing, and Concentel Mobile, all three come together to create the Cultural Capital Marketplace, where CTI Marketing provides the marketing, the Concentel Mobile is the technology and the customer service, the CRM and all of that. And we're constantly working to see how we can better serve our customers. And then the NASEMBA Business Alliance is for the customers who want to become business owners themselves. So we have four different, three different companies, but four different classifications of community members. So everybody's in the community. That's the C. We all are community members, but there are some community members that are just consumers. Now, there's nothing belittling about consumers. People often say you have a consumer mindset and you need to be an investor. No, you're always a consumer. You will always be a consumer. The question is, can you, the business owner, go into the community, everybody, and identify the consumers, everybody who's a consumer? Now, once they become consumers, now you have a potential to do business with them. If they're not consumers and they're just in the community, you, you you're no different than they are. You start manipulating people. If you're going to try to manipulate people and you're not providing them a service, solving a problem, they're not coming to you for something. And this is what politicians think. Politicians say, you didn't vote for me, so screw you, right? I'm in the community, but because I'm not a consumer of your nonsense, you don't want to have anything to do with me, but you're supposed to serve the entire community. See, this is the time now to begin to think the right way. We've been caught up in thinking with we've been having the wrong thinking. So we've allowed politicians and corporations and big time money people to cause the whole community to suffer. And then coronavirus had to come around and remind us that we're a community. Guess what? What did they start calling coronavirus that was not transferred, that they couldn't trace? Before they could trace it, they knew that this person flew over from China and he went to church and he infected 3 people at church. They knew that they could trace back who got who infected. And at that time, they were always diminishing what that meant. That was the pandemic screaming to us. What we should have done is, the moment 3 people in a church found out that they had coronavirus, the federal government should have flown one of those big airplanes, like when they're putting out a forest fire, or those helicopters, that it should have flown over those communities and been dropping out bottles of hand sanitizer and masks just all over the street. You should have been able to walk out. It was like, why are they just dumping these little tiny bottles of hand sanitizer? Because 3 people in your community have coronavirus. We're going to bomb the area with hand sanitizer and face masks. That's what should have happened. And if they had done that, every time one person found out they had coronavirus, they just bombed the area with face masks and hand sanitizer. And 3 people in your church came up with coronavirus, and you got 5,000 members in your church, 5,000 face masks, 5,000 bottles of little tiny bottles of hand sanitizer. Where's mine? In fact, I'm OCD, y'all. I went and bought, before the shutdown, I bought like 5 of these because I just have them on me all the time. I'm an OCD like that. Well, it's not OCD. I said it earlier. It's OCA, obsessive compulsive awareness. I'm obsessively compulsively aware that germs are on my hands. So I don't touch my mouth. I don't rub my eyes, because, and unless I know that I have, and see now, I got to do it now since I'm talking about it. But once I'm consciously aware, I do it. But we could have solved this problem with coronavirus by bombing the area with hand sanitizer and face masks, but we didn't do that. And then came this word that they said, someone in California got it, but he hasn't come in contact with anybody that traveled to China. And so now it appears that coronavirus is now going into the community spread phase. See, there we have it. When things start spreading through the community, it starts infecting everybody. And so our politics, we thought we could keep politics contained. Oh, that's just his base thinking that way. No, his base thinks that way, but it's poisoning the entire community. his base loved his base. I'll just talk about Trump right now because he's president, and when Biden is president, I'll talk about Biden. But Trump's base applauded the fact that he came up to drain the swamp. He was going to destroy government. He was going to get rid of all of those career politicians. And then he's going to bring people on like Rick Scott. Rick Scott went up there talking about he's going to serve, he wants to get term limits. Rick Scott hadn't mentioned term limits since he got to Washington. And I guarantee you, Rick Scott is collecting money right now to run for a second 6-year term. So it'll be 12 years before Rick Scott is even thinking about getting, and when he was governor, he was talking about term limits and career politicians. He's a career politician. All of them are. They're poisoning the community. So we got a community. I have my community. You have your community. Going back to what I was saying earlier about that non-regional. But when we come together, we can't come together as if we came from our community. I might come wearing my hair long, and I wake my hair back and forth. I shake my hair back and whatever. In my community, that's the way we do it. We shake our hair back and forth in my community. But when I come to this collective table, I got to leave my community behind. I can't come to the table and bring my community with me, not if I am trying to find a solution that's going to benefit my community and every community. And politicians right now dragging their feet because some Republican governors didn't want to buck against the Republican leader and close their city, their state. And now we're up to 20,000 people dead. 2,000 people per day. 2,000 people a day are dying in the United States. Okay. I just wanted to show you guys what community looks like in a virus, but it's the same thing in your business. You have people that are in your community, but they're not your customer base, not yet. Unless the way that they can become your customer is if they become consumers of your product. Now, consumers don't necessarily mean they're your customers. It just means that you can look out into your community, the overall community, and say, how many in my community eat hamburgers? These are all meat eaters. So now all the meat eaters are consumers. Now you can narrow your focus, because now you can say the consumers can become my customers. But if I don't consume meat, if I don't consume media, if I don't consume it, then I am not your customer. But then you can't take the attitude that if I'm not your customer, to hell with you, because I'm in your community. You're going to screw me over because I don't want to eat I don't want to eat that meat I don't want to smell what you cooking. But so because I don't want to smell what you cooking, you're going to ignore, you're not going to send aid over to my side of the community. You're going to put a wall up to get my side of the community off. And then those who are at the table that are from your community are applauding that nonsense. That's not how we do it. And that's not how you do it in business. You take your community and you identify the consumers. Now from your consumers, you're going to identify those that can become your customers. Customer, the difference between a customer and a consumer is a customer is willing to pay you for that which they consume. Now they're already paying for the consumption somehow, whether they're paying the government, somebody's paying for their consumption. Sometimes they're paying, sometimes the government is paying, but sometimes we all are paying because we're consuming, but somebody's got to pay. You will never have consumers where somebody don't pay the bill. But there's nothing like a consumer who's consuming and never have to pay the bill. Well, there are a lot of consumers out there, consumer of government goods and government resources they're consuming, and nobody's paying it. That consumer is the same person that doesn't pay for you solving the problem. See, I'm choking. I've been consuming this chicken and without paying for it. Now I'm choking on the bone. Then somebody come along and give you the Heimlich maneuver and you spit the bone out. Solve your problem. Do you pay them for that problem? Solving the problem? No, you're not paying them to solve the problem because you weren't paying them for what you were consuming in the first place. So you're a consumer that's not really willing to pay, and you have problems for which you're not willing to pay. Yeah, can you see now why you're in the situation that you're in? And you're in my community. But now somebody's got to pay for you to get sick. Somebody's got to pay to put your fire out. Somebody's got to pay to go and fix your mess. Somebody's got to pay for the flood that you caused in your penthouse suite that now has gone down and drained the guy who's in the basement, all of his front, and he had this one mattress. That's all he's got. But you don't want to pay for your mess, but you want to pass it over to someone else. Guys, you're beginning to see now why too big to fail is not too big to fail. It's really too big to be trying to pick up. So when you're thinking about starting a business and you want to get your business off the ground, you want to think about the community that you're going to serve. And that may mean that you have to leave the community behind from which you came. Because you cannot come and try to serve this community with your attitude. There's a couple of customers, and a friend of mine just told me that they had to do this, but at least 3 times I've heard of this happening. Black couple, middle class, living in a nice community, has to have something done to their house, fix the plumbing, install tile. They get a great referral from this guy who's a contractor who's going to come over and do, $3,000, $4,000 worth of work. He comes highly recommended. He does great job. Dude comes pulling up in the driveway and he's got his Confederate flag waving off the back of his pickup truck. This sister said, I can't do business with you like that. No, you will not get a check from me, not today. You might as well turn that truck around and go on back. Why? Because he came from his community into another community, bringing his community with him. Big mistake. Leave your community out. You come to serve. And when you come to serve, you better wash your hands clean and leave all your germs behind, your way of thinking, your way of talking, your way of acting, your way of behaving. I don't care if they say he sounds like a white boy. Yeah. Well, that's what you need to sound like in order to serve that community, because you are there to serve the community. The community is not there to serve you. Then once you're in the community, you are there to serve the consumers who want to consume what you have. If they don't want to consume it, you can't force it down their throats. You have to compel people to want to do business with you. You can't force them to do business with you. So customer, consumer. The consumer, the community, then the consumer, and now the consumer becomes your customer. But does that mean that you own them? No, it doesn't. It means when that little bell rings, ding, ding, and they're walking into your door, they're your customer. That's the difference. A consumer becomes your customer when they willingly walk into your business. And until they willingly walk into your business, they are not your customer. Now, you cannot get caught up with the fact that because they walked into your business and they are your customer, that's all you got to serve. Because you also have to serve the consumer. Because guess what? If they walked into your business to consume your hamburger that's made out of plants. So you got one of these Impossible Whopper businesses or Impossible Burger business. So your business is serving people in the community who consume plant-based beef, plant-based meat, and they become your customer. Now they eat that plant-based meat, and because none of your employees wash their hands or because you prepared it the wrong way, 3 people die. Now, what have you done? You have placed a mark on everybody in your community who serves that kind of meat, who serves people who are in that base. But you were so concerned about feeding your particular customer a certain type of poison. So that's how you talk to your people, only your people. But the entire marketplace is going to be affected. So think community, think consumer, think customer. Now, when that customer pledges his loyalty to you, he puts that flag on his chest, he pledges allegiance to you, he becomes part of your party, part of your team, part of your group, part of your church, or whatever it is. Now he becomes your client. And when he becomes your client, what's the difference between a customer and a client? The customer, if you have that relationship only as long as they're in your building. They walk in, they stand in line, they order the burger, they sit and eat, they walk out the door, you never see them again. That's a customer. Now you can do analytics and track them and follow them and all that other stuff and all that little sneaky stuff that Facebook and Google and YouTube do. I go and look for hemorrhoid ointment, and then I got to find a hemorrhoid ointment ad following me all over the place, right? So that concept of tracking your customer, it just says that you haven't done the work to turn your customer into a client, where that customer comes to you all the time. I'm a client of Antonio Mitchell, the owner of a Perfect Touch Barbershop. I've been his client, I don't know, 10 years, maybe longer. I can't remember how long I've been coming, but because that's the only person that I go to for a haircut. I'm not his customer, I'm his client. And he treats me like a client. He recognizes me as a client. He's created apps to make it possible for me to be able to set an appointment and pay and know what time I'm supposed to come in. I got his cell phone number so I can call him to see if he's available. You don't give that to you. You don't do that for customers, but you darn sure better do it for a client. And the beautiful thing about it is you can charge your clients more, and therefore you need fewer clients than you do customers. And that's where people are beginning to understand, and they're thinking, well, I'm going to sell a course and I'm just going to put a big number on it and I'm going to make money. I'm going to talk about how I made money. No, that's not how you're making money. But now you've got those clients. So we got community, we've got consumer, we've got customer, we've got client, and they're right there in the middle is contributor. There are people now who are going to contribute to your business. I talk about, there's the story of Susie Orman, and Susie Orman talks about how she was a waitress at this cafe, that these 5 or 6 old retired men would come in, sit every week or every day, even for coffee or whatever. And she got to know them. She would tell them, and I guess they sort of asked her what was her dream, her desire, whatever. And then one day, one of those men came over with checks and money and said, we know what you're desiring to do here. You always thought about owning your own cafe or whatever it was that they were going to do. They put their money together and put it in her hand. I don't think she ever said how much money it was, but if it's 10 guys who sitting on some money and they just all decide to put in 10,000, I mean 6 guys and they all decide to put in 10,000, it could have been as much as $60,000 they put in her hand. Now the story goes that she went and gave that to an investor and lost it. And that's when she found out that investor who gave her investment advice had broken the law because she wasn't an accredited investor and his license was on the line. So the company had to give her her money back. But my point is, those 6 men, though they were in her community, they were consumers of the food that she served, they were customers in the cafe, and they became clients because they had a long-standing relationship. They also became contributors. And when your customers can become contributors, that's the highest relationship you can ever have in business. When your resources to take your business to the next level come from the people who use your service. The people that you have been serving are now serving you. Man, that's a wonderful place to be in. So let's finish the rest of this workshop. I've been using this quote, and I think I'm going to keep it in just because it really sets the pace. It's something that I want to re-emphasize. This is Marianne Williamson. She said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. You are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. Rewind and say that again. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And I realized the hashtag that I'm going to add to my list of hashtags that I've been adding. I have the seventh one now. It's hashtag we are liberated. Liberals are I think I'll say liberals. We are liberals. Liberals are liberated. And that hashtag liberals are liberated is going to help you to so that you can stop thinking of liberal as in the opposite of a Republican, right wing zealot. Okay. So you have the left wing zealot and you got the right wing zealot. That's not what liberal and liberated is about. Liberated means free from your fear, free from the things that are holding you back, free from the things that are stopping your greatness. Okay, stopping you from going after your greatness. So I said this earlier, but this drives home everything that I've been talking about up to this point. You as the business owner, you have the right to determine your price. So price is always determined by you, the seller. And it doesn't matter whether you're a business owner and as a seller, anything that's being sold, if you trying to get someone to pay money for it, you have to set a price. So you are the one that determines the price. Hey, how much is that? How much I got to pay? $50. Okay, there you go. $50 it is. But the value is determined by the customer. So if you set the price as the seller at $50 and the customer only sees $5 worth of value, they're not going to give up $50. There can be no transaction until the price and the value come to equal terms. So that's happening in the marketplace thousands and millions, literally a million times a day. In seconds, all day long, you're hearing those. Stand in Walmart during Christmas and listen to those beeps of those cash registers, beep, 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 as they're scanning. Every time that thing beeps, that's an agreement between you, the customer, and the seller of that particular product. It's $2.59. That's the price. I see the value. It goes, the transaction is made. $3.12. That's the price. Click, it goes, swipe it. That's the value. I see the value. 79 cents. That's the price. I see the value. And you're doing that all day long. And we don't realize it, but every decision practically that we make is a marketplace decision. So now we are bringing in this new marketplace mindset. What does that look like? It's a knowledge-based marketplace. It's the Bible says we perish for a lack of knowledge. So now it's time for knowledge that we and the greatest knowledge you can get is knowledge of the truth. So that's the ultimate that we're going to get to. But Napoleon Hill says knowledge has no value except that which can be gained through its application toward some worthy end. And I need to add Seth Godin's quote here. Seth Godin, I've been quoting him a lot. He says, if we can just fall in love with serving people, creating value, solving problems, building valuable connections, and doing work that matters, it makes it far more likely that we're going to do important work. So whether it's a worthy end, get ready for greatness, worthy in seeking value, adding, whatever it is, it's toward the end result. Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. So again, you can choose what you want. When this coronavirus thing is over, you can choose to go back to what your ancestors did and what your family did and what mama and them did, or you can stay here and deal with the nonsense that's coming from Washington right now, or you can move toward that worthy end and start getting ready for the greatness that is to come. As for me and my house, I'm going to go toward greatness. All right. So let's get started. Let's talk today. I want to talk about the STACK principle and 7 streams of income. I touched on this earlier, but this is what the STACK principle looks like, STACK. It's primarily to determine the difference between wealth and money for those who can't make that distinction. But here's the best way to understand it. Wealth, if all things equal, if just left alone, if you put wealth in one place and money in one place and you left wealth alone, If left alone, wealth will continue to increase in value. But for money, if you did the same thing with money, if left alone, money will continually decrease in value, simply because inflation is happening. The price of things are going up. There's a challenge, and I did it on Facebook to post your first car, and a picture of your recent car. My first car was a '69 Chevy that my dad owned, that I had spent 2000, somewhere between $1,800 and $2,000 fixing up, because I used my $2,500 signing bonus to fix it up. And man, if I had that, the numbers is such that if I had invested that money and bought Apple stock at $22 a share when it came out in 1980, instead of instead of a new car, if I had spent that money buying and put it into Apple stock, that $10,000, instead of putting it into a new car, that stock would have brought me, I think the number is something like $16 million today. And what instead, it was a fixing up a used car that got totaled when my mom was hit by I think a drunk driver who blew through a stop sign. And so I never got the car. I never drove it up to Kansas when I thought I was going, where I thought I was going to take it. And then I bought my second car in 1980, and a brand new car. But if I had taken the money that I had put, and I think I put $18,000 into that, maybe $14,000 into that brand new car. But if I had taken that money and put it into Apple, same year that I bought the car, I'd be sitting on $16 million today. So money, and it increases over time, but also everything is inflated. So there's no way that I could buy that car that I bought. In fact, the car that I bought for $14,000, I think would probably sell for like $32,000 right now, with all the stuff that's in it. So money is going to decrease over time, but wealth is going to increase. But here's how you do it. I'm going to go through this real quick. The S is for stack. If there was a storage fee, wealth could cover the storage fee, because wealth will grow. If I stored it for a year, my wealth, I could pay for the storage fee off of the interest. But if I just let my money sit there, and then I had to pay a storage fee for the money, I'd have to pull the storage fee from the money, and therefore it's less money. The same thing goes for the T, the transfer fee. If I had to move that wealth, I could move the wealth and cover the fee from the value that the wealth is growing by the time I got there. Oprah, Bill Gates, all these guys that are worth billions and headed toward trillions, it seems. If they took $100 bill, lit it, burn it, and by the time that $100 bill finishes burning, they could, I mean, literally sit there, hold that $100 bill and let it burn. And by the time the $100 bill is completely ash, the money that they have in investments in the bank, that $1 billion, has already earned them $400 by the time that $100 finished. They can't burn their money fast enough because the wealth is increasing. But if it was just the money without the fact that they had wealth backing it, yes, they could burn their money and never see it again. And a lot of consumers are burning through money. The A is an access fee. If you were charged to access it, just go in and look, man, let me go in and smell this money and see how it looks. If you kept going in and accessing it, you'd lose it. That's what happens with these credit cards. There are a lot of credit cards that charge you all kinds of fees. And every time those credit cards are charging you fees, they're getting money from you and putting it in their bank account and gaining access to your money. And that access is causing your money to diminish. But if your wealth was increasing, your wealth is increasing such a rate that even companies like Charles Schwab and some of these bigger other companies, they don't charge you fees, because you got so much money. They're just glad to have your wealth in their account. So that's the difference between wealth and money: storage fee, transfer fee, access fee. But then there's a creation fee. If you were one to create wealth, the wealth creators, they call them the job creators. But they don't, I haven't heard the word job creator in a minute, but the politicians used to use job creators like crazy. Man, we need to give tax breaks to the job creators. And then they gave that $1.7 trillion tax break in 2017 to the job creators, and they didn't create not one job. What did they do with that money? They went and bought back their wealth. They bought stocks. and it drove their wealth up even higher. Money creation fee, of course, you're gonna go try and create some money and see the price that you pay for creating money. Go print some money if you want to. And then the K is a knowledge fee. You can charge for your knowledge. That goes back to what I've been saying today, doing your YouTube videos, selling your course, putting a fee. You can put a price on your knowledge, and it's your right to do that. And if you want to sell your course for $49, like I sell mine for $49, or if you want to sell it for $49,000, that's on you. And if someone sees the value in your course and they want to meet you at that price and pay it, then welcome to the wonderful world of a free market. That's a beautiful marketplace. So that's what the stack principle is. You just think about the stack principle when you are trying to determine whether or not this is a move that's going to increase your wealth or this move that's going to diminish your money. All right, so with that, I want to go over the 7 streams of income, calculating your net worth, assets equals liabilities plus equity. That's a pretty basic formula to get to your what's called a balance sheet and be able to get a determination of what you have of value, how much you are worth on paper. And that's what they say. When you hear the term, what's the bottom line or how much you're worth on paper, it's this calculation that we're talking about. We do balance sheets and income statements, cash flow projections, and all those things are what we're doing on the accounting side. But it's so that usually there's someone who needs to know those numbers, especially the IRS, so that the IRS will know how much to tax you. But your investors want to know that information so that they can know whether or not you're going to generate a profit in the future. But you want to know that information so that you can know where you are as it relates to your operating within the world of business. So here are the 7 streams of income. And don't think of it like this, I got 7 jobs, so that's 7 streams of income. No, your job is that labor income, and then you have business that you own, and that becomes the business income. The next one is interest income. This is interest earned that your money is earning. Like I said, if you got your money sitting in an interest-bearing account, then yes, it goes over into the category of wealth because you're earning some interest on that money, but you have to know that you're probably losing more simply by inflation because the money's not worth the same next year, in spite of the interest. So interest earned, you really want to be investing where your money's going out to be loaned out to someone else. That's really the best way to gain interest income. You have $100,000, you put that $100,000 into a fund or especially a loan-based crowd fund, and the loan-based crowd fund lends that money out at anywhere from 12 to 18%, which is a good rate for risky loans, and that word risk. And then that 18% that comes back on that money gets split between the platform that loaned the money, and you. So you can make 9% on your money by putting that money into a crowd-based, loan-based platform. And there are plenty of loan-based platforms out there for you to look at, but that's just a great way to think about how you can earn interest as people put that money into the, you put your money to work and your money starts to earn money. All right, so once you earn interest, then you got dividend income. That's money that's made off of your stocks. And then you have real estate. Most people start thinking real estate like rental property. That's not what I'm talking about. There are investment tools and funds in which you can invest. And one of the best ways to invest in real estate without ever having to hammer a nail or go to Home Depot and buy paint and all that other stuff that people do who own properties or even pay a mortgage is to find a REIT, and a real estate investment trust that's publicly traded. Simon Malls is one of those, and they've got malls all over the world. And there are other companies that invest in collective real estate property. I think there are several companies here in Jacksonville. I know there are 2 that own over 5,000 properties. They may be dumping some of those properties now because people are not able to pay the rent on them. Nevertheless, those companies owning portfolios, and their money, their real estate money is on paper. And so that's where you want to have your real estate investments on paper. All right, so that's the real estate income. This is the sixth stream of income. It's capital gains. Capital gains is when you cash in. I like the, what was the name guy? James on Jeopardy. James, I can't remember his last name. I'm not that up on names, but James would do this thing when he's going for double Jeopardy, and Alex Trebek would ask him, you know, how much you gonna bet? He says, all in. He does that little thing, like he pushes forward like this. I'm putting all the chips in. And that's capital gains, is when you cash in your real estate, cash in your dividends, cash in those bonds and stocks or whatever it is that's earning you interest, and even cash in your business, sell your business. What you have left over what you paid to get in is the capital gain. And then the government is going to charge you taxes on capital gains, but capital gains are treated differently. Thank you, Republican Party. They treat capital gains different. So it's taxed at an unbelievably low rate now. And there are all kinds of little loopholes and places you can hide capital gains. So that's where you want to begin to get to, is as far away from labor income as you possibly can get. And you can't get any farther away from making money off of the work of your hands than the last stream of income. And that's royalty income. This is the money that you don't even have to roll out of bed to make this money. This money, in fact, chances are a royal says that there's someone in your past that created this thing so that this money just rolls over to you. Michael Jackson's children, they're royals. Man, they're living off of, Michael Jackson is making more money in his death than he ever did alive. Elvis Presley is making more money in his death. John Lennon, all of these guys that had all of this money and wealth and music and stuff that they've owned, they left over to the next generation. That's that royalty. You're royalty. You're the son of a king. You inherited something. But you can also have royalties from intellectual properties that you own. You write a song, a book, a movie. You sell your movie rights. Someone takes your book and turns it into a movie. J.K. Rowling, you can bet her royalties are still kicking in from Disney. All the rest that use her books to make Harry Potter, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling goes cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. One of the craziest stories of royalty is, forgive me guys for bringing up these names. It's just that I've heard all these stories over the years and they're just sort of stuck with me. But the guy who wrote the theme song for the Tonight Show, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, he got paid $250 a night, every night that song played. $250, $2,500 every 2 weeks for the entire time that the Tonight Show was on the air. That's some real nice royalty money right there. So there you go. Those are your 7 streams of income. And I'm going to just take a break before I talk about the micro loan program, because I want to, I'm going to come back to this screen in just a second, but I want to talk to you guys here. Again, this is the Lunch and Learn section, and it's extended. Forgive me, I think I'm now into my 2nd hour, but I didn't do the Lunch and Learn yesterday, so I wasn't able to cover the section. So I want to sort of go into the 2nd half. And what I'll do is I'll shorten the progressive mindset a little to just make up for the time. But for those of you who are still with me, thank you. If you're watching this far, it's because you are serious. This is obviously interesting to you. Maybe you've learned something. Please leave a comment or shoot me a message. Just let me know that you made it this far. If you're watching this way in the future, today's date is we're April 12th, 2020. So if you're watching this sometime in the future, God bless you. I'm glad that this video found its way to you, and that you're watching it at this moment in time, because it doesn't matter. There is no time limit on when this is supposed to hit you. You're watching this video right now because God directed you to it. You're here right now because you're supposed to be. So chances are also, though, that if you're watching this in the future, let's say 10 years from now, you're watching this because someone has told you, well, he did a video back 10 years ago and he was talking about it. So they're going to be watching this. You're watching this video right now, April 12th, 2030, because you had to go back and hear that this guy prophesied about the moment that you would be watching this video today. Isn't that crazy? This is crazy, crazy because I'm talking literally, I'm talking to you right now knowing that you're not going to hear this until 10 years from now. And you're going to hear it 10 years from now, and it's going to give you chill goosebumps. You're going to go, oh my God, this guy was talking to me 10 years ago. And yes, I'm talking to you 10 years from now, because 10 years from now, I am worth $7.3 billion. My company, Concentel, this company right here, that I haven't even at this time today, I haven't introduced yet. We won't be going with our public offering shares of stock, selling shares of stock until October 5th, because there's a process that we have to get ready for. And that's, again, get ready for greatness. There's what we call a due diligence checklist. The Securities and Exchange Commission has criteria that the businesses have to meet before you can put an offering on a crowdfund platform. So for right now, we're using donation-based crowdfunding and reward-based crowdfunding. So at this particular moment, our company is simply a reward-based. I'll put the card up a little bit closer so you can see it. I know you could see it back there, but it just looks, that's a great looking card. One of my graphic designers that designed this did a really good job of designing this card. And right here, what we're going to do is end up moving this powered by Concentel Mobile. Concentel Mobile, you'll see it says right there, powered by Concentel Mobile. See that in the corner there? So it'll say powered by Concentel Mobile. That's going to move over to this corner as we are now working and negotiating with Visa, MasterCard to produce the actual credit card that will be used in the marketplace. So individuals, not only will this be your membership card, but this will also be the card that you use to make purchases. And then as you make purchases, it's storing reward points. And then those reward points can be converted to cash depending on where you are in the community. So that what I explained to you before, the community, there's community points, there's consumer points, there are customer points, there are client points, and then there are the contributor points. Obviously, the most valuable points are those of the contributors, but it doesn't matter. You can pay $49 for the card and be a contributor. So this card is no respecter of person. This is not like saying, well, you have to buy a 16, the micro franchise is going to come in at $16,649 for a micro franchise. Approximately $1,600 a month is what that client is paying. Not everybody is there. That's for the person who was going prior to coronavirus. They were probably preparing to spend as much as $500,000 on a franchise. Now owning a restaurant franchise is not going to be the hottest thing, guys. Owning anything that requires groups of people to gather together, because we are not going to get rid of the coronavirus. The coronavirus is here to stay. It is not going away. It spreads, and what stops it from spreading is physical distancing. I've been saying social distancing, but really the word is physical distancing. Keeping your physical distance is what's going to stop the spread of the virus. And then wearing the mask and hand sanitizers. So if the federal government had only done that in the very beginning, and taking it like really seriously, we could have spent $1 million on bottles of hand sanitizer. And that would have been it. Instead, we're spending $4 trillion on recovering the market and all those other things. But my point is, it doesn't matter where you are in the marketplace, but we've designed it in the modular pricing that our most expensive product is to purchase a micro franchise that allows you to build a network in your own community. And you'll keep seeing, you'll keep hearing me say that, is that you might not want to join my community. There's nothing that stops you from starting your own community. Your church may have 5,000 members right now. Well, then your church and the 5,000 members can own a micro franchise and just do business with your church. But we're all going to come, we're all in God's kingdom. These, when communities come together, they form a kingdom. And this, my friends, is this is where kingdom capital comes in. So the old capital system is dead. That's dead. And Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall and he had a great fall. And all the king's horses and all the king's men with $4 trillion could not put Humpty together again. He's not coming back. And that sounds scary because we don't know what to expect tomorrow. But know that my company is just one of them. And I believe it, guys. My business model is that all I need is to sell 10 franchises a year at $16,000, and we're on a pace to reach a $7.3 billion market cap in 10 years with just that level of slow growth. So there's not a whole bunch of money that we need to make, but if we're launching 10 communities a year with 1,100 plus people in each community that could all become 1,100 businesses or all 1,100 consumers, go back consumer, customer, it doesn't matter. They all work together now. The contributor, the consumer, they're all in the same. It's no, in our previous, prior to coronavirus, the king lived on the hill and the corporation was over here in a tall tower, and the CEO was making $41 billion a year, and his paltry little employees were making $8.15 an hour. Gone are those days. They'll look back in history and Grandpa, when was the great falling out? When was the great fall? The great fall. Oh, my child, it happened in the spring of 2020. I remember it well. Yeah, that's what they're going to call it, the great fall. But the great fall set us up for the great rise. So get ready for that. So let me continue to share my screen. We're going to finish this and go into the second part of the Lunch and Learn session. So remember, this is Lunch and Learn day 1 and 2. So let's, not day 1 and 2, but 2 days, day 6 and 7. And so let's continue with the talk about the micro loan program, because this part I'm really excited about. We partnered with several credit unions and banks that have micro loan programs, and we were doing this before the coronavirus shutdown, before the stimulus. And these are not SBA loans, but these are loan programs, and I'll show you the loans, but I have to show you how it works with my 7-stage consultation process. So whenever you're coming into my coaching, or anybody that is certified as a greatness coach, this right here is the heart and soul of the coaching program. You have to become certified as a coach. You can get your certification through, I don't care where you get your certification from. As long as it's a certified coaching program that certifies you as a coach, then you come over to Get Ready for Greatness, and you add to that my coaching process and your certification. Now you're able to talk a person through this 7-stage process. And by the way, if anybody's watching this and you just want me to send you something on the consultation process, I'll share that with you as well. But it begins with visualization, and then we go into consultation. And the way that I always explain it is this way. Let's say we get 100 things that you can visualize yourself doing. When we go to consultation, the 80-20 rule will apply. You'll see that throughout this process. You bring down 20% of what you're doing, because the 20% represents 80% of your success. So it's like going down in a spiral, and the further you go down, the faster you start gaining momentum, and you're not even speeding up. You're not adding any more energy. It's just that the funnel is getting smaller, and the energy is you're getting into that vortex, and we're creating a vortex as we move through these 7 stages. We take 20%, those 20 things, and we move to planning. Now we bring 4 things into planning. And then in the planning stage, after the planning stage, we go into implementation with just one thing. So you started off with 100 things that became 20, and then they became 4, and then it became 1, and you're implementing just one thing. And you take that one thing into the control phase, but that's when you've implemented it, and now you're watching it fly. And you just want to keep control. You want to manage the now you pull out the clock, the checkbook, the calendar, and the map, and those things, the income statements, the balance sheet, the reports from your accountant, and the marketing analytics, and the customer the customer evaluations, all of those reviews. That's when you start seeing businesses taking their reviews and customer evaluations and tell us what you think. All of that is in this control phase because those numbers are helping you to control. It's horrible when you ignore the numbers or you start doing crazy stuff like they did with the coronavirus. Well, it's only killed 3 people. The flu killed 70,000 people. This coronavirus has only killed 7 people, and they're now acting crazy over 7 people. The coronavirus has only killed 15 people. The flu kills 70,000 people. Coronavirus is now killing 2,000 people a day in the United States. And in the next 10 days, if it continues, that will be 20,000 people. But what is happening is the percentage of people who get it and die, that's increasing. Earlier back in March, there was like a 2.1% death rate. And that was a 10, 20, 200 times higher than the flu already. That's how contagious this thing was. Now the death rate is like 3.7, possibly 4%. So when this thing gets up to 4 or 5% of the people who get the virus are going to die, that means when we get to, by the time we hit 1 million people, double the number that we have now, which they could be in 5 days, we could be up to 1 million people dead. That means in 5 days, we could have as many as 50,000 people dead. Because we ignored the numbers and what they said to us in the very beginning. Because why? We thought we had control, but control is a myth. It's something you think you have until the moment you lose it. So rather than control, what do you want? You want to be prepared. Oh my God, were we prepared for this pandemic? Right. We were prepared for the pandemic, but we got rid of preparation and opted for control because it's easier to say, I got this. I'm in control and I could always call them back if necessary. No, you can't, because you can't go back and prepare for something that is happening today. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. You can only prepare for the future. Well, the future is here and you didn't prepare, or you unraveled the preparedness because you opted for control. But control is a myth. It's something you think you have until 2,000 people are dying. Now you don't have control. So, but once you get prepared, if you are prepared, you can make it past that place where you could lose control. If you are prepared, then you can move forward to completion. How cool would it be if we were now talking about the fact that only 20 people or 200 people, or even 2,000 people died, but we were able to contain it by now everybody is social distancing. The federal government is spending $20 billion on masks and hand sanitizer. Wouldn't you much rather have spent $20 billion on sanitizer and masks because we were prepared? Well, think that's the same thing that's happening with your business, my friend. That's what this economy is about. That's the world that we're in. We're in this place now where it applies to everybody. This knowledge is universal now. This is universal wisdom. So you can do this for your own business, whether it's a government with $4 trillion or you with just $49 to purchase this card. It doesn't matter. These 7 steps work exactly the same. Then when you get to completion, the final thing is evaluation. Now, the Obama administration did a lot of evaluations. What did we get wrong? But the thing they couldn't control was the rhetoric, the noise that was taking place in the community outside of where they were. So if we do the reverse, remember we talked about the core as contributors? politicians focus only on the contributors, but right outside the contributors are the clients, or in the world, in the political world, those are called constituents. And then right outside the clients are the customers. Those are the people who are back in your district, but half of those didn't vote for you, right? So they're your, or they were your they're voters. Everybody's a customer, but maybe they're disgruntled customers, so you don't care about them, right? And then right outside of your customer is the consumer. And the consumers right now have been consuming news media, and everybody's going to their favorite consumption hole, right? Fox News, CNN, Breitbart, what's TMZ, what's the guy, the Young Turks. Those, all of those guys are, they're in that space of consumption. And then right outside of that is the community. Man, what we're supposed to be is serving the community, not focused on our contributors. But if we spread out and start putting people in office who go to office to serve the community of everybody, then I think we're going to be okay. That's the good thing I think that can come out of this. So again, and this is just, I just show this so that I can show you how I do my modular pricing. When I, in the past, for a client, this is what I actually did with the Jacksonville Symphony. When I consulted there, I did a 3-year contract and was right about $30,000 a year. But by the middle of the 2nd year, I could literally do everything I needed to do in just 4 hours, because I had a really good team of the conductors, and the parents were volunteering, and the conductors were part-time, and I literally had one person on the staff besides myself. She was an operations coordinator, and we had parents who volunteered in exchange for getting free tuition. So it was a very smooth running operation within an organization that's now, the symphony is about a 10.3 million, maybe 10.5 organization, but it was 8.1 at the time that I was there, and the budget for the youth orchestra that I had control over was only about 300,000. So it made sense for that small organization to pay a consultant as opposed to hiring a full-time person. And that's the mindset that I had. But the problem with that, for me, the reason why this business model didn't work is that in order for me to make a decent income, I had to double that number or triple it, and or even try to get up to 5 times that. So by the time I got 5 clients, and I'm, that I've got a $30,000 annual contract from 5 clients, I'm making $150,000 a year, but I've got 5 people that are just pulling on me like crazy, and it takes a lot. So the system began to fall apart, meaning that I couldn't scale as much as I wanted to. So I ended up falling into my comfort zone. But what I did was realize that I had to get out of that and change the business model. And so I chose to go with modular pricing and bring my business to where I could help individuals to grow. And again, I know that if you're watching right now, you're watching because you're interested in this. There should be nobody here that is thinking, I thought this was free, or that brother just trying to sell something. You're right, I'm selling something now. So the free part is over. So I'll pause, let me make this perfectly clear. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. I wanna make this perfectly clear. I'm not trying to sell you something if you don't wanna buy anything. Now, if you came here looking for something free, and you are right now feeling in your spirit like this Negro trying to sell me something, cut it, go somewhere else. my grandpa used to say, go on with that mess, go on with it, because you can go and create your own platform, sell your own products, sell your own stuff. But gone are the days where we piss on somebody else's product process, because what we've got to do is make certain that we're only supporting those who we want to support. So I am only talking to my supporters right now. If you are here and you're not one of my supporters, you are an uninvited guest, so click away. Because it's important that this principle is understood, that the Bible is going to give seed to the sower. The Bible says God will give seed to the sower, the one who's going to plant it, not the one who's going to eat it, not the one who's going to waste it, not the one who's going to throw it away, not the one who's going to bitch and moan and complain all day. That's not what this is about. So just feel like I had to say that just so that the slate will be clean. If I've pissed you off enough and you still here, then maybe, just maybe, this is for you. And you just need to get rid of some jacked up thinking. So I'm going to challenge now, from this point forward, your thoughts are going to be challenged. Your beliefs are going to be challenged, because that's what greatness is about. This is like the workout, the part of the workout now where that bodybuilder, that coach that you hired to help you build those muscles is going to piss you off because it's tiring to do this work. Yes, this is tiring work now to change the way that you've been thinking. And I get on my Facebook page, and I'll do it on Facebook because it's out there now. And I get junk mail, and I don't change my email. I've had it for years. So I get junk mail and I get junk on my Facebook page. I get trolls all day long. I'm dealing with trolls, but I won't deal with a troll here. And I won't put up with it. So again, chances are you're watching this because a friend has shared this video with you, but I can't control with whom they share it. So I don't know who's watching this. In fact, I am now talking as if I'm talking to you on, let's say this is about 5 years later, maybe, or 10 years, but it's certainly not today, not April 12, 2020. You're probably not going to be seeing this video for a couple years. But by the time you get to this place, somebody's going to tell you, you better be aware when he gets about 2 hours in, because he's going to set it straight and set it off. So let's continue. So this is me sharing with you now my revenue model. But this is the revenue model that everyone in the cultural capital marketplace has. If you own a micro franchise, a Concentel Mobile micro franchise, and you are building out your network, you paid $16,000, you bought the franchise. Well, actually it's $15,000 is the cost of the franchise, but it's the membership, and I'll show you this membership at $16.49. Let me do that now. I'll show you. I'll show you where the micro franchise comes in. But it starts off with the reward card at $49, and then you go up and become a basic member. You can see the module. You add $100, and you now at $149. And by the way, you'll see that the 49 goes all the way through the network. So if I could go all the way up to $1 million. And I always call this the Oprah membership. Oprah pays $1 million. It'll be $1,049,000. Why? Because remember, everybody is a member of the community. We all are in the community. So my focus is going to always be on the making certain that that person who comes in at $49 gets the same thing that anybody gets when they come in. So this is why you're not going to find me in the tower and sitting in my, executive suite or flying my private jet and all that other stuff. I'm going to be always working at this $49 level, because this is where it's supposed to be. This is where I love. These are the people that are coming in fresh, the new ideas, the ones that are coming in fresh, or at least want to start over fresh, and recognize that, wow, I joined this community and I've started prospering from the day that I was in. How? The way that it's set up right now is, if you go to my Get Ready for Greatness page, for $49, you can purchase the Get Ready for Greatness training. Now, prior to this, they were separate, but what I'm going to do is only sell this card through the Get Ready for Greatness page, and we're leaving Shopify. I have a Shopify site, but by the end of this month, we're going to take down the Shopify site, and everything is going to move from our Get Ready for Greatness page, and then you'll start going into what we call our incubation funnels. So you'll start seeing a different approach. But this is the first intro into the funnel. Prior to this, you've been getting everything for free. So now you're paying an annual fee of $49, and think of it as a like a Amazon Prime membership, and that's $149. But that's $49. But eventually, even this $49 level will disappear. But for right now, it's there. You pay $49, and you get all of the benefits of the membership minus the business component. So at the 149 level, this is for entrepreneurs. And so this is access to business development information, business coaching, all of our coaching materials you gain access to. There's some free coaching material, all the stuff that you could get for free, you'll get it. But then there'll also be some very affordable coaching programs that we're bringing on. But the goal is that at the $149 level, you've got everything that you need to take you to the next level. So, but also when you become a basic member, you become an affiliate. So you're an affiliate of the owner, you're underneath the owner of the micro franchise. So whoever owns the franchise and the micro franchisee will always be able to license just over 1,100 people into his franchise, and they are deliberately kept at a micro size. So that means that no micro franchisee will be able to have more than 1,100 or so members in his micro franchise, whether they all are at the $49 level or 149 or whatever. It's up to that micro franchisee. But the only thing that we limit is the number of licenses, because what we're doing is the licenses that you have that will allow you to activate this card, it activates it, and we know that it comes from just that franchisee. So therefore, the franchisee can be a church, the franchisee can be a business alliance, it can be a membership organization. As long as if you feel like your organization has 1,000 members, and the perfect example that I give is a church that has 5,000 members in the church. Usually the 80-20 rule applies. So that means about 20% of those members are entrepreneurial in nature or would want to support the church through a program like this. Then that's ideal for it. If you have access to a community of 5,000 people, that 20% of your people will become part of the entrepreneurial ministry. So your church would purchase a micro franchise. Don't even have to let your members know that you have the franchise. Not even necessary that you let them know that they have access to the One Vision reward card. You can brand it with your own name and call it, the church vision or whatever you want to call it. But it will always say powered by Concentel Mobile. And it will have the Visa logo. Well, depending on who we negotiate. Right now we're negotiating, but we'll see who wins, whether it's MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover. I don't know who's going to be the company that wins the right to be on the card. But once we lock in, we're going to form a relationship with them and prayerfully keep that relationship for as long as we're in existence. So, but the bottom line is the fact that it's called a One Vision reward card. That's what I call our card as it relates to the NASEMBA Business Alliance Network. So NASEMBA members are owning the franchises and building up the NASEMBA network, but you should be able to see how your church can form this network and do the same thing in your own community. So it can be the 55th Street Boys. I don't care. Please, let me say this. Not that I don't care. I should say it doesn't matter. The system is designed to be no respecter of person. Okay. So 149 basic member, the business leader membership, and I think I'm going to go in and change these so that, well, no, I'll keep them that way because this right here is our virtual incubator level at 649, but it's a VIP, and it's the virtual incubator program, but it's also a VIP NASEMBA membership, and it's also VIP as it relates to becoming certified as a life coach under our program. So you can come in as a life coach and never go above $149 and still be coaching with using our program. But if you want to move up to the level of being a certified life coach and therefore a CTI marketing business coach, then and open up a new stream of revenue, then you can become that affiliate, and now you're making money as you are identifying, helping us to identify entrepreneurs as well as customers into the cultural capital marketplace. And then finally, the angel member, or what is the micro franchise. The reason why it's an angel membership is because that angel member is understanding that by the time they join at this level, $1,500 of that angel membership is going to be used specifically to filter down through the organization through the work that we're doing with our 501c3s, the work that we're doing with our business development programs, the work that we're doing in the communities. So you can see that the angel members are the donors, and that goes back to what I was saying. An angel member is the donor, the business leader is I should say the contributor. The angel member is the contributor. The business leader would be in the client level. The basic member is in the customer level, and the $49 member is the consumer level. So we go consumer, customer, client, contributor, and now you can see how it all falls into place. I want to show you what that looks like. If you remember the 7-stage consulting process, and I told you that when it was a 7-stage process, that was $30,000 for me to come in and do all 7 stages. And it was a lot of work up front. I mentioned by the time I was wrapping up my relationship with the symphony, I was working maybe 4 hours a week. But what I didn't tell you was when I first started, I was working 70 hours a week, because it took a lot for me to get the program, to get the organization plugged into my way of thinking and operating. And it didn't sit well with everybody, because I'm an equal opportunity pisser off. I mean, if your toes can be stepped on, if your feathers can be ruffled, if you can be rubbed the wrong way, or I can rattle your cage, I'm all of the above, because I'm not trying to dance around your ego, your problems. And I ran into some egos when I was at the Jacksonville Symphony, and trying to bring the community together. But what I was able to do was create a program that's called the Jumpstart Strings program, and it's still going on today. It's in its 10th year, and hundreds of African-American inner city poor kids learn to play the violin in elementary school because of the program and the system that I was able to bring. So my point is, and I haven't, by the way, we haven't launched this company yet. We're in the process of launching it. I'm unveiling it right now. I can't keep it in my comfort zone. I don't know if I'm going to get investors. I don't know if people are going to like it. I don't know. But what I do know is I can't stay in my comfort zone wondering. So we're unveiling it. And so this is how the program works. You saw earlier the cost of the program starting at $49. But when you're ready to move into the business stage, when you become a basic member, you go in and become an incubator client at or you're preparing to become an incubator client at $149. That's the December membership. We now work with you to help fine tune your vision. This is where you get great coaching. And again, I keep taking Jay's book out of my studio, but the book, The Greatness Zone, and we talked about that. And I'm actually going to do a training. I think I'll make this training tomorrow, where I show you the different zones and the emotions that we talked about in my morning commutes. But this is where you are thinking about starting a business, and you now want to be more than a consumer. You actually want to get your business off the ground. And as an incubator member, as an affiliate, you could make $20 up to $40 for each one of those cards every time somebody activates a card within your network. And you're playing a part in that, or I should say within your community, you're playing a part. And you always want to go to the franchisee to get the cards, because that way you're certain that you're benefiting the person that you are connected to. Now you could work for anybody, and remember, there'll be hundreds of communities that have been launched as micro franchises, the same way that there are hundreds and thousands, if there can be thousands of McDonald's on street corners all over the world, and a McDonald's franchise is about 1.5 million, tell me how many micro franchises you're going to see at 15,000, especially in this post-coronavirus economy. There are going to be millions of these micro franchises. And that's why I know that we'll hit $7.3 billion of wealth probably long before 10 years. But I'm just going to stretch it out and say it's going to be 10. Now, as you move up to that 649 VIP, this is the virtual incubator program that I talked about. Now you begin to get more into business consultation. This is where we bring in the attorneys, the CPAs, the high level guys that are going to, they're all specialists in what they do. There's usually some sort of certification and licensing on the state level. What's the difference between those that are consulting you in the visualization stage? These are people that can talk to you just because, hey, I bumped my head against that brick wall. I know what it feels like. Let me tell you, anybody that has experienced it in a knowledge-based economy, it doesn't matter where you got the knowledge from. If you can bring it, bring it. But in this consultation stage, it does matter here, because we will not offer consultation to anyone that does not have certification from some certification body, some governing body, the state, federal government, some organization, because we won't put our members in the hands of someone who is not capable. And then that third phase, planning, and that's where you actually go into the incubator to be able to come out 3 to 5 years from now and do a crowd fund offering where you're going to raise up to $500,000 and probably have that commitment from your crowd, if you will, your community. Your community will be behind you even before you leave. So you can see where purchasing a micro franchise at 1649 and paying the 15,000 over time will probably be your best bet. So you can see, you will buy a micro franchise not because you want to build it out as a church or as a business alliance, but you're buying the micro franchise because now you want it to be the core of your business. You're paying for the business system 3 years, 5 years in advance, so that when you get there, you won't have that cost. That's planning. So now it won't hit you like a virus that you're not ready for. Success can come and take you out if you're not prepared for it. But this is why the program, again, is called Get Ready for Greatness. So let's go to the next section. I want to show you how this credit builder loan works. I mentioned to you earlier, right now, the federal government has people lined up for these SBA loans, but you're beginning to find out that getting an SBA loan is really difficult. So what we have is relationships with credit unions and community banks. We had this relationship long before the virus, but you can get a credit builder loan, and I'll show you how the credit builder loan works. You become an incubator client at the 149 level or the 649. It's just that the difference is the commitment is, if you join at 149 and do a credit builder loan, you're going to use that line of credit to pay for the coaching on the back end. So I did this just so that I would not exclude people in this economy. Believe me, I was ready to start at 649 and go up to 1649 and not offer it to anybody below 1600, and go after that market and identify that market and find it. But that's because we had an inflated economy and everybody looked like they had it going on. Now everybody's unemployed. 35% unemployment is what they're expecting us to hit by the end of the summer, if not within the next 2 months. So it's going to be the storm. This is just now the lightning bolt. You haven't seen the storm and the flood and all the stuff that comes after the natural disaster. So, but this is how the program works. You take your individual savings, which once you join the program and you commit to the loan builder program, basically what you're doing is you're paying $149.49. You're paying $149 for the membership and $49 a month for the back office and the what we set up for you to be able to manage your network within the network, your community within the community. Then once you're paying that, then you get the individual loan. And what we do is you save $300 and we match it with 200, and you now have a $500 loan that you can use. That $500 loan, because it's being placed on with points from your card, you can use that as a micro line of credit. You can use it to upgrade your membership to go from a 149 to a 649 membership. You can use it for cover startup costs for your small business. You might buy an online website and get the first things that you're going to sell, but that's more than enough to launch your online business, and your monthly cost to manage that business through our program is still not more than $100 a month, or around $149 a month is what you're paying. But by the time you're coming out of the incubator, you're probably making about $15,000 to $30,000 a year. Or you can use that $500 just for personal coaching if you're not planning on going the route of the business. Some people decide that they want to use it for network marketing. I will never speak disparagingly of network marketing, because I believe network marketing is a very powerful way to build your income. Robert Kiyosaki said if he had to do it all over again, from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said if he had to do it all over again, he would probably do network marketing, because nowhere else can you take $500, invest $500 and 5 years and become a millionaire. So all of those are possible with this credit builder loan program that is our most popular offering within the Nasimba CTI Marketing Consento universe, or what we call the cultural capital marketplace. So with that, let me say thank you. And then I'm going to jump over here to the next phase, and I'm going to wrap up this thing and talk about the progressive mindset theory. Catch my morning commute, my unscripted morning commute. And I'll be talking, I wrapped up the seven days of talking about the progressive mindset. So the morning commute next week, starting tomorrow, I'm going into the second component of the 21 Days to Greatness training, which is the 7 steps to overcoming adversity. But this mind, I wanted to make certain that we talk about the mind shift first, that getting your mindset right. But your mentality on one side is developed through your biological, genealogical, environmental influences, and then it determines your mindset on the other side. And so your mindset, mentality is going through this physical, mental, emotional spiral. You're moving up, becoming physically aware, mentally aware, emotionally aware, spiritually aware. Then you move up, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and move up. And you'll see how that process looks as it goes out through this. These 2 Bible verses, I think, are really powerful. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. With all they get understanding. And then fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So fear is not, this type of fear is not the same fear, it's the respect. This fear means respect. Okay, so here's that process. And we went through these 7 this week. So we wrapped up today with number 7. Well, we wrapped up 7, but there's 8, and I want to show you the 8th one today. So we got the caveman mentality. Caveman has that fearful mindset. Those are your base emotions. We talked about the 6 emotions. That first emotion is surprise. Boom, something happens and suddenly you got surprise, and it triggers everything off. It's like turning your car on. You wake up, you put the key in, you turn it, and you suddenly surprise your car, and it wakes up and all the lights are on. And you can see all the dash lights just before you crank it. You see the brake light is on, the oil check oil light, the heat, the engine light, the wiper fluid. All of those lights are on. The airbag light is on. Every light on the dashboard is on. But that's because you just woke up the car. You surprised it. It woke up. That's that first emotion, surprise. Well, that surprise emotion is going to take you in one or two directions. You're going to either go fight or flight. That's your basic instinct at the very base level, fight or flight, fear or anger. And that's what the caveman and slave mentality is about. Your emotions surprise you awake, and now you got to choose which 2 emotions you want to feel. Most people go toward fear, some go toward anger, But fear is the flight, anger is the fight. But most time it's neither. It's sort of like this wonderful little happy medium called the comfort zone, and you get comfortable. Well, the next stage that you're getting to, and even the next two emotions are joy and sadness. And the farmer mentality, he feels joy when those crops look good. He's waving at you, hey neighbor, how you doing? And or during that bad year when that drought and the nothing's growing, oh, he's ornery now. So they go from joy to pain, joy or sadness, joy, pain. So now where in the earlier your caveman felt fear and that slave mentality felt anger, now the farmer feels both. Because what is happening, you're beginning to start feeling something is happening. You're beginning to become conscious. You go from the law of consciousness to the law of awareness. Now you're becoming aware that you have another thing going on inside of you. So now the two have to coexist. Your physical being and your mental being have to coexist now. In those other two stages, they didn't. They were both physical. Now these are physical, mental. Farmer mentality, ornery. The fisher mentality is a higher level mentality, but it's protective. So he's going to find his comfort zone and he's going to protect it. So that fisher mentality is where most of us sort of get to life, and we're good. I can ride out life from there. But something happens to take you to the next level and you become that hunter mentality. That hunter mentality is a motivated mindset. And as that hunter is motivated, he says, I got to leave this mindset and go to another mindset. The hunter recognizes if I stay here, I'm going to be committed to the way it was in the past, or I can just, continue to sit here and fish and take whatever comes up the creek, and I could be up the creek in a minute. So I'm not going to be trying to do the past, what my ancestors did. I'm certainly not going to take this crap that's coming down the creek now because the water's poison, and I'm going to keep standing here and fishing, and somebody is poisoning the water with every news conference. The water gets poisoned, and I'm going to keep trying to pull fish out of that. No, the hunter's got to move on, be motivated to move. Coronavirus has motivated us all to be hunters. But now, which direction do I go to hunt? That's the problem. Who helps me after I catch it? Don't sell your birthright for a meal. We talked about the story of Jacob and Esau. Esau went hunting. He was so hungry. And he said, Jacob, fix this meal for me. Jacob says, man, I'll fix it if you give me your birthright. He said, oh, sure, go ahead and have it. He never thought that Jacob could do anything with the birthright, because if he needed the blessing from his father. If he didn't get the blessing, he wasn't going, the birthright meant nothing. It was just talk. But what he didn't know was Jacob had already manipulated his father and gotten the blessing. So now he had the birthright and the blessing. And so the hunter lost his birthright, sold his birthright for a meal. And that's what you want to be certain of, is that your thinking doesn't get you caught up to where you sell your birthright for a meal. The next level you move up is to that warrior mentality. And by the way, those zones change. In the caveman slave, you're in that comfort zone. And the caveman moves out into the fear zone. And the next zone after that is the knowledge zone. That's where the fisherman and the hunter, they learn how to fish, they learn how to hunt. That's the knowledge zone. The warrior now moves up to that growth zone. That's that warrior is pumping those muscles up. That mentality, you move into the growth zone. So you're going from the comfort zone to the fear zone to the knowledge zone, and now the growth zone. But the warrior mentality and that conquering mindset, after a while, you conquered everybody. You've grown all you can grow. What do? You run the risk of turning on yourself as a warrior, beating yourself up of past failures. And that's that final emotion. It's that disgust, because that disgust emotion has to go somewhere. So you got surprise. That's usually the first emotion that we all feel. And then you got fear and anger. Those are the next two, that fight or flight. And then the next two are joy and sadness. You're constantly trying to balance those two. And most people spend a life balancing joy with sadness. But then when you get to that higher self, and you got to come out of this these zones, you got to move to that final zone. And I'll tell you what the final zone is in just a second. But you got that comfort zone, you got that fear zone, you got that knowledge zone, and you've got that growth zone, that warrior mentality where you're taking these courses, you're learning these things, you're at your highest level. You got your course, you're making $70,000-$80,000 a month even, and you're doing it. You're spending money, you're gladly pay me $30,000. You'll gladly pay somebody else their $50,000-$100,000 because you got the money. You want that warrior mentality, but where does it go from there? If it doesn't keep going, if it doesn't continue to go up, then it's going to go back down. And the highest level that you can get to here in this earth is that Christ-like mentality. The Bible says, let this mind that was in Christ Jesus be also in you. That's your ultimate goal. 1 Thessalonians 4:11 and 12 says, make this your chief ambition, to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, to work with your hands, just as we told you to do, so that in doing so, you may win the respect of outsiders and you won't be dependent on anybody. That, my friend, is liberation. You're a liberal now at this point. You're free. Now you're free to do what? Free to serve. That servant mentality. So now the servant mind, the Christ-like mentality has a servant mindset. But isn't that like a slave? No, it's not. The slave is over there the slave is over here in the mentality side. The slave mentality has its own mindset, angry. But the Christ-like mentality is a servant mindset. Now, the question is, whom will you serve? The mindset serves whom? It serves you. Yes. Inside of you is this servant. The Bible talks about husbands, wives, serve your husbands. But it also says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. The church is Christ and Christ is the church. Your wife is in you. When the Bible is talking about the wife, it's talking about you, your spirit. Now, when you can love your spirit, love yourself above all else, when you can love yourself, you raise the bar. And now that's the measurement for how you love everybody else, how you love all those other people within you. Those caveman, slave, farmer, fisher, hunter, warrior, they all are you. They're in there. But if you're not careful, you're going to hate them because of that disgust emotion. And you look at yourself with disgust. And that's what happens with people that have bulimia and anorexia. They look at themselves in the mirror and they say, how disgusting. I look fat. I need to starve myself to death. So how do you turn that corner from warrior mentality to Christ-like mentality? You remove the emotional process and you step into the final zone, your greatness zone. And your greatness zone is not about emotions. Your greatness zone takes it to the next level where you're committed to serving yourself. And now with that, now you get into your feelings. And the number one feeling that you can have when you transfer and separate from your senses and your emotional sensations, and those are not feelings, those are sensations. I'm pinching my hand right now. I don't feel myself being pinched. I can sense myself being pinched. There's a difference between a feeling and a sensation. Your feelings don't have any physical connections to them. So your feelings are generated from within that Christ likeness, that within you, that inner man within you that doesn't sleep, doesn't slumber, doesn't get hungry. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't even die. Now, how do you serve that man? You serve him with 5 powerful feelings: the feeling of gratitude, the feeling of forgiveness, the feeling of respect, the feeling of compassion, and the feeling of love. Hey guys, I know that I have worn this thing out because by the way, I'm telling that brings us to number 8, and number 8 is just simply number 1 at its highest. So the caveman will find that the cave that we're in is in the mind of God. We're in a cave in the mind of God. The Bible says, in my Father's house are many mansions or many caves. We all are inside a cave, inside God, inside. And that process could continue over and over. But you're inside God's house, living in a cave, or you are inside God's house, living inside a mansion. Which one is it? If you are wrapped up in fear, I guarantee you, you're still in that cave. And you're not going to just get to a mansion in the blink of an eye. You got to go through this process to get to the point to understand that in the mind of God, it's not a cave. In the mind of God, it's a mansion. And when you are in the mind of God, and the mind of God is in you, you are one with God, you're one with the universe. Guys, that's the training for the day. I thank you all for hanging out. And I do apologize for missing yesterday and letting yesterday slip by. But it was fun doing a marathon session today. So again, if you have watched this entire training, God bless you. You're good. I know I'm done for the day because I did a whole bunch of accounting before I jumped on this here. So I've been here since early this morning. Well, since I did my morning commute, I think I got here about 10:30 is when I finished up the class. And chances are you're watching this on a replay and not watching it live because either I sent you to watch this one or someone else did. But this, I think, would be the 2-hour class training that I'm going to put up as just for the course, because it covers all 7 of those steps of the 7 stages of the progressive mindset theory, but it goes into some great detail. So I'm going to be editing this video and putting it up as training. Guys, if you haven't done so, get over to getreadyforgreatness.com, get to the richardcuff.com. Of course, follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Richard Cuff, on Instagram at Cuff the Comedian. And then let's tune in tomorrow morning for the morning commute on the unscripted morning commute. And also tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern for the Lunch and Learn session as we begin week 2, the 7 steps to overcoming adversity. And tomorrow we're going to begin with step number 1. Remember, adversity builds character. Till tomorrow, guys, take care. Do share the videos, like the page, ring that bell, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Till then, take care.